associated with the qualifications on the sub-framework of qualifications, NQF levels 1 to 4. The powers and functions include the following. The external moderation of question papers and site-based assessments or school-based assessment, SBA, to ensure the maintenance of standards of assessment. The audit of the system to conduct, administer, and manage the examinations to determine the readiness of the whole system. The monitoring of the writing of the examinations across sampled examination centers to determine the credibility of the examinations. Participation in marking guideline standardization meetings in selected subjects to ensure that the marking process is accurate and reliable. Verification of quality of marking in sampled subjects to ensure accuracy and reliability. Standardization of examination marks to ensure comparability and consistency in learner performance across the years. And approval of the publication of the learner results. The above mentioned quality assurance processes show that the quality assurance framework that Umalusi uses requires different role players to approach examination quality and standards from various but complementary dimensions to safeguard the integrity and credibility of every set of examination results. I would like to express our thanks to every one of the moderators, examinations monitors, marking verifiers, Umalusi staff, etc., for ensuring the full implementation of the quality assurance framework. Umalusi could not have reached this stage without your professional and administrative assistance. Regarding the standardization of the 2024 examinations, the Assessment Standards Committee of Umalusi Council standardized the results of the examinations between 19 December 2024 and 5 January 2025. As mentioned already, standardization of result is meant to ensure comparability and consistency in learner performance across years. This year's standardization processes were undertaken in the presence of officials representing 7 national and 3 continental organizations. The continental bodies were the Examinations Council of Lesotho, ECOL, Examinations Council of Zambia, ECZ, and Malawi National Examinations Board, MANEP. Nationally in attendance were senior officials representing Universities South Africa, USIF, South African Qualifications Authority, SAQA, the South African Council for Educators, SACE, South African Democratic Teachers Union, SATU, National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa, NAPTOSA, National Teachers Union, NATU, and the South African Honorable INI, SAOU. The observation of standardization processes by especially stakeholders and their organization lends credibility to the process and affirms our publicly stated position that Umalusi is a transparent public entity and that its quality assurance processes, standardization included, are open to the scrutiny of peers on the continent and elsewhere in the world. Based on the experiences gathered over 5 consecutive days, the observers from Lesotho, Malawi, and Zambia shared several key takeaways, of which the following 2 are worth singling out for the purposes of today. The first is that they said they were extremely impressed by the wealth of knowledge and experience that the members of the Assessment Standards Committee possess. Secondly, the observers said they were amazingly surprised at the ASC's use of multiple sources of available data or evidence, namely numerical evidence and narrative reports. They went further to affirm that the multiple reports elicited rich discussions that resulted in the ASC arriving at standardization decisions by way of consensus. Concerning the second takeaway, I can confirm as the CEO of Umalusi that during its standardization processes, the Assessment Standards Committee conducted meticulous analysis of the evidence presented in relation to each of the 514 subjects spread across 4 qualifications: 150 NSC subjects, 269 NCV levels 2 to 4 subjects, 55 N2 to N3 subjects, and 40 GTC ABET subjects to arrive at standardization decisions. Crucially important, I want to assure you that there were no deviations from the standardization principles in the manner in which the ASC standardized the 514 subject results. This makes it abundantly clear that the ASC carries a great responsibility on its shoulders. That is, to ensure that Umalusi truly honors its vision of being a trusted authority in fostering higher education standards in general and further education and training in South Africa. Umalusi is indebted to the Assessment Standards Committee of Council for always executing its mandate in accordance with the Act. The relevant Umalusi policy and the approved principles of standardization, which were applied consistently across all qualifications and subjects. During the State of Readiness media briefing in October 2024, Umalusi raised a concern at the shortage of markers in relation to the DBE's history, Afrikaans first additional language, and English home language, particularly paper 3. I can confirm that the Department of Basic Education did manage to put in place plans to ameliorate the situation. Umalusi is also pleased that the other risk factors, such as load shedding, weather conditions, affect the smooth running of the examinations. As I conclude, I would like to express our concern at how some aspects of the conduct, administration, and management of the examinations were handled by some of the assessment bodies, disallowing candidates from writing. Umalusi is concerned at the persistent phenomenon of teachers and principals refusing to allow registered learners to write examinations in particular subjects. Anecdotally, this phenomenon is motivated by the desire to improve the results This is unlawful, and Umalusi advises the affected learners and parents or guardians to report such incidents to the relevant authorities. Coming to unregistered candidates, Umalusi received a report from the Department of Basic Education to the effect that an independent school allowed 30 candidates who did not pass grade 11 to register for grade 12 examinations. This is highly irregular. Whereas this is only one case, it is one too many. Umalusi can to withdraw both the registration of these 30 candidates and the withdrawal also of the registration status of the school concerned. So they will no more be allowed to run examinations. With regard to unaccredited institutions, Umalusi has learned from the reports presented by the DHET that 128 private colleges administered the N2 to N3 examinations, despite that the colleges are not accredited by Umalusi. For that reason, Umalusi has directed the DHET to investigate the matter and furnish Umalusi rather with a full report. Regarding examination malpractices, while all 4 assessment bodies reported some detected cases of malpractice or cheating during the writing of the examinations, I find it necessary to flag the following cases. Almost 365 N2 to N3 candidates in the private college sector are reported to have been involved in acts of copying. In the case of the NSC, while there's been a reduction in the number of reported cases of group copying in the Department of Basic Education, that is, the number decreased from 945 in 2023 to 407 in 2024, Umalusi remains seriously concerned that KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga are once again at the top of the list, with 195 and 74 implicated candidates respectively. I want to state emphatically that cheating does not pay. This finds support in the judgment of the Mpumalanga Division of the High Court, which was delivered on 12 August 2024 in respect of 448 learners from a number of schools in the Mpumalanga province who cheated during their NSC examinations during October-December 2022. In the judgment, the acting judge said in paragraph 37, I have no doubt that the learners have cheated and have deserved to be punished as they were. What the learners must appreciate is that cheating does not pay. Regarding previous cases of irregularities involving teachers and invigilators, Umalusi is pleased with the progress made by the Department of Basic Education. The conclusion of the cases resulted in some of the invigilators and teachers being dismissed, while others had their salaries docked for up to 3 months. Similarly, we are pleased that the DB is considering reporting such cases to the South African Council for Educators, SAIS. Umalusi remains concerned at the lack of a resolution in respect of the previous cases of irregularities involving the DHET's GTC ABET qualification. We urge the DHET to give this matter the agency that it deserves. One area of concern is the area of marking concessions. We are also concerned at the year-on-year increase in the number of marking concessions that the DHET applied for. For the 2024 examination, UMalusi received marking concessions in 19 subjects compared to 17 subjects in 2023. A marking concession, colleagues, is an instance where an assessment body makes a request to UMalusi to have certain questions found to be problematic during the marking process to be excluded, either entirely or partly, and upscaling the total marks achieved using conversion tables. What is problematic about this practice is that it has the likelihood of negatively affecting the overall standard of the question paper concerned. UMalusi urges all role players to put in place stringent measures to prevent the recurrence of all the above issues. If left unattended, the lapses in question could undermine the validity of the exam and the integrity of certificates issued by UMalusi. Professor Balim will explain in the approval statement how such cases must be dealt with by the relevant assessment bodies. My apologies. UMalusi strongly condemns the reported cases of the girl students who became victims of rape while preparing themselves for the examinations in the Eastern Cape. We urge stakeholders, including the law enforcement agencies, to work together to avoid the recurrence of this shocking reality. We are very grateful to the Executive Committee of Council for investing 2 full days of their time extracting meaning out of the large volumes of information presented by the assessment bodies and UMalusi in respect of the 11 sets of the examination results. We are grateful for EXCO's members' time, insight, expertise, and their commitment, without which would not have been here. Special thanks go to the assessment bodies for cooperating in various ways with both the Assessment Status Committee of Council and the Executive Committee of Council at the various stages of the quality assurance value chain. Finally, I would like to express my warmest, sincerest, and heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2024, their family and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO. We will now hand over to Professor Balim to make the approval statement.
Thank you very much. And thank you all. There's a microphone in front of me that seems to be connected to nothing. I hope somebody is hearing it. But good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. And I want to greet the CEO of UMalusi, Dr. Mafura Kometsi, who has just addressed you, UMalusi management and staff, the assessment bodies that are who are here and well represented, the DBE, the DHET, and Sakai, members of the media, warm greetings, and of course the class of 2024, who are really the subject of our discussion today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start by reiterating that UMalusi draws its mandate in relation to quality assurance of national examinations from the General and Further Education and Training Quality Assurance Act, Act 58 of 2001, as it's been amended. The Act assigns to Umalusi a range of powers and functions, including approval of the publication of learner results if the Council is satisfied that the assessment body or the education institution has conducted the assessment free from any irregularity that may jeopardize the integrity of the assessment of its outcomes, complied with the requirements prescribed by the Council for conducting assessments, applied the standards prescribed by the Council with which a learner is required to comply in order to obtain a certificate, and complied with every other condition determined by the Council. Following the conduct, administration and management of the National Senior Certificate, National Senior Certificate Vocational, that's the NCV levels 2 to 4, the NATED Report 190/191, N2 and N3, General Education and Training Certificate for Adult Basic Education and Training, what we refer to as the GETC ABET qualification. Following those examinations by the 4 assessment bodies, namely the Department of Basic Education, who I will refer to as DBE, the Department of Higher Education and Training, the DHET, the Independent Examinations Board, IEB, and the South African Comprehensive Assessment Institute, SAKAI, and the monitoring thereof by Umalusi, both the assessment bodies and Umalusi presented their reports for the consideration of the Executive Committee of Umalusi Council during EXCO's approval meetings on the 7th and 9th of January 2025. The approval statements bring together decisions taken after careful consideration of available evidence by various role players at different stages of Umalusi's quality assurance cycle. EXCO's approval for the release of the candidates' results is confirmation that the assessments leading to certification in schools, adult education centers, and technical and vocational education and training colleges was of the required standard across all qualifications for all examinations conducted in this period under review. I should mention that in my reading of the statements, you'll find some of it repetitive. However, the repetition is necessary, mainly to ensure thoroughness for each of the individual examination bodies. One critical quality assurance process that precedes the approval meetings is the standardization of examination results by the Assessment Standards Committee of Umalusi Council. During its standardization meetings, the ASC conducted careful analysis of the results for each of over 500 subjects, spread across 4 assessment bodies and qualifications to arrive at its standardization decisions. The process is detailed and rigorous and is guided by standardization principles, which are supported by numerical evidence and narrative reports. The standardization principles are a matter of public knowledge, and I will not speak to the detail of these. The principles are available on the Umalusi website if you need access. Let me also say that media, you will get a copy of this report, so I won't go through the detail of all the analysis that is here. I'll merely mention or refer to them. I will now present the approval decisions of EXCO, of Council for each assessment body, starting with the results of SAKAI. Thereafter, I will move on to the results of the IEB, followed by those of the DHET, and then conclude with the results of the Department of Basic Education, the DBE. So to start then with standardization approval decisions for SAKAI, the SAKAI has for the 3rd year in succession conducted and managed the examinations as a fully accredited assessment body after Umalusi granted it full accreditation status to assess the General Education and Training Certificate for Adult Basic Education and the National Senior Certificate with effect from 1 October 2022. Starting then with the GETC ABET standardization, the SAKAI administered examinations to 257 candidates at 38 examination centers. Concerning the standardization of the 7 learning areas, 4 learning areas had their results accepted in the submitted or raw form, while 3 were adjusted mainly upwards. There is an analysis of the trends of performance for Sakai over the years from 2020, and you'll get access to that. The approval statement for the release of the GETC ABET results for Sakai then reads as follows. Having studied all the evidence presented, the Executive Committee of Umalusi Council concluded that the examinations were administered largely in accordance with the Sakai policy for the General Education and Training Certificate, Adult Basic Education and Training, external examinations. There were no systemic irregularities reported that might have compromised the overall credibility and integrity of the November 2024 GETC ABET examinations administered by the Sakai. EXCO of Council approves the release of the Sakai November 2024 GETC ABET examination results. In respect of identified irregularities, the Sakai is required to block the results of all the implicated candidates, including candidates who were implicated in the alleged acts of dishonesty, pending the outcome of further Sakai investigations and verification by Umalusi. The Sakai is required to address the directives for compliance and improvement highlighted in the Quality Assurance of Assessment report and to submit the improvement plan by 14th March 2025. EXCO of Council commends the Sakai for conducting a successful examination. Turning then to the NSC standardization decisions for Sakai. Sakai administered NSC examinations in 24 subjects to 5,789 candidates at 84 examination centers. After considering all the evidence available, the ASC arrived at the following standardization decisions. Raw marks were accepted for 14 subjects. The results in 8 subjects were adjusted mainly upwards, and the results in the remaining 2 subjects were adjusted mainly downwards. Allow me just to comment on this point about accepting raw and adjustments upwards and downwards. Raw marks accepted means that the ASC was satisfied that the examinations and the results produced as they were presented were of a suitable standard quality and appropriateness for the results to be accepted as they were. That usually, and I will make this point again later, is an indication of an examination system or an examination that is stabilizing, maturing, and finding a performance that is repeatable and reproducible. And that, of course, with the possibility of an improvement over the years, but certainly repeatability and reproducibility is an important consideration in this regard. Since there are few people in our society who may be interested in the actual standardization decisions per subject, those are presented in the document that you will be receiving. And we've in fact detailed which marks were accepted as raw, or subjects which raw marks were accepted, the subjects in which mainly upward adjustments were made, and the subjects in which mainly downward adjustments were made. The approval statements for the release of the NSC results for Sakai then read as follows. Having studied all the evidence presented, the Executive Committee of Council concluded that the examinations were administered largely in accordance with the regulations pertaining to the conduct, administration and management of the National Senior Certificate examinations. There were no systemic irregularities reported that might have compromised the overall credibility and integrity of the November 2024 National Senior Certificate examinations administered by Sakai. EXCO of Council approves the release of the Sakai November 2024 National Senior Certificate examination results. Regarding the identified irregularities, Sakai is required to nullify the results of the candidates implicated in the irregularities and implement sustainable strategies to mitigate the recurrence of reported administrative errors and omissions. The Sakai is required to address the directives for compliance and improvement highlighted in the Quality Assurance of Assessment report and to submit the improvement plan by the 14th of March 2024. The Exco of Council